Hello, students. So, welcome to the session for discussing the important legal updates. We have discussed some of the important updates in our previous sessions, and it is in continuation of those sessions that I've come up with some other sets of legal updates that are important for your law entrance examinations. So I'm assuming that you have revised all of those updates that we discussed previously. So let's begin with today's session, starting with the very first and one of the most interesting legal updates of the last month. That was with regard to a bill that was passed. Actually, it is proposed in Haryana that relates to unlawful conversion of religion, right? As you must be aware of, in our preamble in our constitution, one of the most important basic structures that is mentioned is secularism, right? So we give a lot of importance to equal treatment of all the religion, and in amidst of all these provision and all this discussion that is going on around the country, there is this new bill that is proposed which talks about conversion of religion. It lays down a lot of laws wherein it mentions that if there is any allurement of if there is any forced conversion, if there is any coercion, if there is any fraudulent mean that is used for conversion of religion, especially in case of minor, in case of women, in case of SC and ST, it would be punishable in nature. Though it applies to other set of people as well, other than children and women and SC and ST, but there is this difference of the extent of punishment that is being proposed. Secondly, it also talks about the concealment of religion with the purpose of getting married to someone. So if there's a person who is concealing the religion in order to get married to the other person, with the only and sole intention of getting married, right? In that case also, it would be a punishable offense as per this bill. And it is all actually revolving around the love jihad controversy that keeps coming up every now and then in our country. Now, the most important part is that all these laws that are mentioned, that are laid down in this bill, the bill mentions that they are all going to be cognizable offenses. Cognizable means police officers can arrest anybody without any warrant. There is no need of warrant in order to arrest a person who is found to have committed any of these offenses. Secondly, they are all going to be non-bailable, means getting bail is going to be difficult, right? There would be a very long and taxing procedures in order to get bail, and there is always going to be a trial that is going to take place in the court. So these are all very strict rules that are being proposed with regard to this bill. So this becomes an important part for our examination. Why? Because it relates to the religion, it relates to the secularism, the principles of secularism that is mentioned in the constitution, right? Moving on to the other concept that talks about a cognizable, non-bailable, and triable. So these concepts are also important here for you to have clarity about, right? So you may get any passage on these kind of topics as well, because these are like hot topics, and they relate to constitution that is again in your syllabus. So yeah, so I hope this one helps. The next one is a simple one with regard to the family law, wherein the law, basically the Supreme Court has pronounced recently that if there's a daughter who is cutting all the ties from her father, if she doesn't want to keep any relation with her father, in such case, such daughter cannot come to the court, or such daughter cannot claim any demand of money from the father for maybe for her education or for her marriage or for such things. Why? Because if you would be aware of, in family law, if there's a daughter who is unmarried, she is dependent on father, right? Father would be liable. He would be having the responsibility, legal responsibility, to take care of her daughter, of his daughter, for her marriage, for her education, for her maintenance, everything. And once she gets married, the responsibility, the liability shifts to the husband, right? As per the family law. Now, there is this small amendment that has taken place and it is progressive in nature. So this again becomes important for you. You may get a passage on these lines as well, right? Because this is a small but significant shift from the conservative set of laws to a progressive one. So you may get a passage on these lines as well. Moving on to the next one. I'm sure you must have heard about this law. If you have been following news, if you have been following legal updates, you would be aware of this law, that there is this bill that has been passed in the parliament with regard to the marriage age, right? The right marriage age for the women. Now, the parliament is planning to increase it to 21 years from 18 years. So for that, there is this committee, parliamentary standing committee, that has been set up in order to study the entire bill, right? The Prohibition of Child Marriage Amendment Bill. So such committee has been set up in order to ensure that, or in order to basically study the pros and cons of it, to see what all are the darker and on the lighter side of these laws that are being laid down. Now, if you look at it, if you look at the marriage related family laws, or say personal laws, you would see usually in Hindu Marriage Act, we have the minimum age for men and women are 21 and 18 years respectively, right? The law mentions that. And if there is a child marriage that takes place, in such case, it becomes voidable in nature, means it becomes voidable as in the party, the girl who got married. If the girl is under 18, if she gets married after she turns 18 or above, and if she decides that she doesn't want to continue that marriage, she can go to the court and she can ask to declare such marriage as void. So that is what is voidable, right? It is on the choice of the party that has against whom such irregularity has happened, right? Second one is with regard to Muslim law. If you look at the Muslim related laws, again comes under personal laws, they talk about, they measure their eligibility as per the puberty. So they say whenever there is a minor who hits puberty, the moment they hit the puberty, they would be eligible for marriage, right? So there is no age as such that is specified. And talking about the Special Marriage Act and the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, they specifically talks about 18 years and 20 years wala formula. So overall, there is a little inconsistency in all these personal laws, right? And this bill, when it comes, they try to bring a uniformity in the kind of ages that we have, right? And with regard to this, I would also suggest you to read about Uniform Civil Code, right? UCC. So again, UCC, there is a proposal, this concept is being always talked about in order to bring uniformity with regard to the personal laws, right? When we talk about marriage, when we talk about divorce, adoption, and all of this, you would see there is inconsistency in different laws, right? If you talk about Hindu, if you talk about Muslim, if you talk about Special Marriage Act, all of them talks about all this distribution of property and all of that in a very different manner, right? And it brings inconsistency of laws and it makes it very complex. So UCC basically tries to make it uniform, to make it easier for the court as well as for people to manage, right? So this also becomes an important one. This has been in news since last year and it is still continuing to be here because a lot of activities are taking place around this update, right? Moving on to the next one. Recently, the Supreme Court has given a judgment which says that when it comes to State Election Commission, when it comes to the appointment of State Election Commissioner, bureaucrats should not be preferred. Rather, individual persons should be preferred over bureaucrats, right? So talking about State Election Commission, I hope you would have studied about Election Commission. So Election Commission is set up at the national level, and when we come to the state level, there are state election commissioners. They are appointed by the governors, right, under Article 243 of the Constitution. When we talk about the powers, almost they have the same set of powers, they have same set of status, they have same set of functions as well. But there would be some difference with regard to the levels that they have, right? Election Commission looks after the elections that are being conducted at the national level, and state commissioners, they basically take care of all those elections that are taking place at local level. Like they are the ones who look after the elections, the preparation of electoral poll for panchayats and for municipal communities, right? So they are the ones who take care of it. And when it comes to their removal, right, with regard to the provisions, constitutional provision of their removal, impeachment is followed, right? There are very less authorities, there are very less officers for whom impeachment is considered. It is considered for president, if you would be aware of that, right? So it is also applicable for state election commissioners as well. So it basically makes the removal of state election commissioners a bit difficult, right? So it's not very easy to remove them from their office. So this is again one of the very important development with regard to the state election commissioners. So you must be aware of it. You must be aware of the articles that are mentioned here. And whenever you read about state election commissioner, you have to study about election commissioners as well. I hope this goes unsaid, right? There are 3 election commissioners who are appointed, and apart from there are 2 election commissioners, and there will be 1 chief election commissioners. So yes. Moving on to the next one, talking about adoption laws. So I hope you would have, you would be aware of what adoption is all about, right? So when we talk about adoption laws of our country, it's very complex in nature. If you would read about it, there are a lot of restrictions on adoption of a girl child by a male member. If there is a couple who want to adopt a child, in that case there are a lot of rules and regulation complexities that are involved, and in order to simplify that, the Supreme Court has basically come up, and they have said that there should be some simplification that should come up with regard to the legal process of adoption, right? Now if we talk about which all laws pertains to the adoption, right? So first of all, HAMA, that is Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act of 1956. Just imagine it. We have been following this law since 1956. These laws are so old, right? So, another law is the Guardian and Ward Act, right? 1980s. So you see how old these laws are, and it becomes very important to update them as with regard to the time, right? With time, society changes, and with society, laws should always develop. If you talk about the irregularity, why is this important? What is the requirement of getting into simplification of such procedure? You would see when we talk about the the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance, if we talk about the adoption laws, this law is followed, right? But when we talk about the orphanage, all those orphans, the maintenance of all those orphans, in that case, Ministry of Women and Child Development comes into the picture. So there is always this tussle that goes between Ministry of Law and Justice and Ministry of Women and Child Development, right? So that is why it becomes pertinent to understand that such irregularity should be negated, right? It has to be removed from the system so as to make it smooth. Correct. Now, if we talk about the statutory body who looks after the adoption laws, it is Central Adoption Resource Authority. You should be aware of this part as well. Now, when we are talking about procedure, when we are saying that procedure is complex, why are we saying that procedure is complex? We understood the regularity of the bodies, but what about the procedure? So what is the current procedure? First of all, if there's any person who finds any other child who has no parents or who is an orphan, basically, so in that case they have 4 options. First of all, they can contact the child line, or they can go to District Child Welfare Authority, the committee. Then they can go to District Child Protection Officer, or else they can call the helpline of the State Commission of Protection of Child Rights, right? These are the 4 bodies who looks after that. And if you go to any of these, okay, you go to any of these, they would directly go to CWC. So CWC is the one to whom, even if you go to the child line, or maybe the District Protection Officer, or maybe through the helpline of State Commission, they would all go to CWC, and now CWC will take care of that. They will register the names and all the details, whatever whatever the procedure is. And later on, until unless that child doesn't get any parents, until then the state remains the guardian of that person, right, of that child. And now, when we talk about guardian, when does the guardianship end? When a child attains the majority, that is the age of 18, right? So as soon as the child attains the age of 18, the guardianship dissolves. Dissolves basically. So state is no more a guardian. All the rights are then now. If a child turns 18, they are legally competent to take their decision if they want to get into a contract, or if they want to take any decision, or if they want to carry on with their lives, right? So there is no need of guardian as such. Not only that, there are other laws with regard to guardianship as well. When if there's a guardian who is appointed, in such case, we wait for a child to turn till 21. Okay, that is what we keep a bar as maintenance in case of guardianship laws that we have in personal laws, right? So the limit is of 21 years and not 18 years in that case, right? So, and the last one for today is with regard to the appointment. This area is one of the favorite areas for the CLAT to ask a question about, right? So recently there is this appointment that has taken place of Justice Dhirubhai Naranbhai Patel. He is the Chief Justice of Delhi High Court. All right. So he has been appointed as the chairman of Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal. So he would be serving as the chairman for around 4 years. Or talking about the tenure, it's either 4 years or the person turns 70 years of age, right? So whichever comes earlier, so that would how their tenure would be decided. And apart from that, talking about the service, the rules and regulation that has to be that would be governing their service, it would be either Tribunal Reforms Act of 2021 that came last year, or there is this tribunal rules with regard to the conditions of services, again that came last year. So through that, the entire service would be regulated, right? So this is also one of the most important legal update, maybe for your legal knowledge, right? So you should be aware of that. So yes, that was it for the legal updates of the day. So I hope this helps you, and whatever we have studied, do research on it, and if you can, read about it, revise it, and read about it, brainstorm about it as to which all question can you think of that can come from these topics. And if you want me to discuss any other legal updates, please put it in the comment box and I'll discuss with you about those updates in my next session. Yes, so thank you so much. Have a great day.